Love bombing. Love bombing is a manipulation tactic that uses overwhelming displays of attention and affection to create rapid emotional attachment. The manipulator floods the target with constant praise, gifts, declarations of devotion, or promises of a shared future. This sudden intensity creates the illusion of a strong bond before trust and stability have had time to develop naturally. The target becomes drawn to the feeling of being highly valued and quickly begins to invest emotionally. The effectiveness of love bombing comes from its unpredictability and speed. Once the manipulator senses that dependency has formed, the affection is often withdrawn or reduced. The target, now accustomed to the high level of attention, may experience anxiety and attempt to regain it by becoming more compliant. This creates a cycle where the manipulator controls the relationship by controlling when and how affection is given. Isolation. Isolation is a tactic where the manipulator deliberately cuts or weakens the target's connections to friends, family, or other support systems. By limiting access to external perspectives, the manipulator ensures that their influence becomes the primary, and often the only, source of guidance, approval, or emotional support. This tactic may appear gradually, with subtle criticisms of the target's loved ones, discouragement of outside relationships, or demands for more exclusive time together. The power of isolation lies in dependency. Once the target is separated from supportive networks, they have fewer places to turn when doubts or conflicts arise. Without external validation, the manipulator's version of reality or standards of behavior face little challenge. Over time, this leaves the target more compliant, less confident in seeking help, and more likely to accept the manipulator's control. Isolation therefore acts as a foundation tactic, making all other manipulative strategies more effective and harder to resist. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a manipulation tactic that erodes a person's trust in their own memory, perception, or judgment. The manipulator denies facts, dismisses feelings, or contradicts clear recollections, creating doubt in the target's mind. Over time, repeated exposure to these contradictions makes the victim uncertain about what is real and increasingly reliant on the manipulator's version of events. This tactic is especially powerful because it operates gradually. Small denials or subtle distortions accumulate until the target begins to question their own reliability. Once that doubt takes hold, even strong evidence or vivid memories feel uncertain. The manipulator gains control not by force but by shaping how the victim interprets reality itself. In this way, gaslighting destabilizes independence and strengthens the manipulator's authority over the target's understanding of their own experiences. Guilt tripping. Guilt tripping is a tactic where the manipulator creates a sense of false responsibility in the target. Instead of openly asking for what they want, they imply that the target has failed them, disappointed them, or should feel ashamed for making a choice. The pressure is not direct demand, but emotional weight. The suggestion that refusing or setting boundaries makes the target selfish, ungrateful, or unkind. Its effectiveness comes from exploiting empathy. People naturally want to avoid causing pain to others, so the target may concede simply to relieve the discomfort of being made to feel guilty. Because the guilt is manufactured rather than earned, the manipulator gains compliance without having to negotiate or justify their request. Over time, repeated guilt-tripping conditions the target to anticipate blame and alter their behavior preemptively, giving the manipulator silent control over decisions and interactions. Triangulation. Triangulation is a tactic where a manipulator introduces a third party into a conflict or relationship in order to shift the balance of power. Instead of addressing concerns directly with the target, the manipulator invokes the support, opinion, or presence of another person. This creates a triangle in which the target feels outnumbered, isolated, or pressured to conform. The tactic functions by manufacturing alliances. Phrases such as, "everyone agrees with me," or deliberate involvement of another person's voice make the target feel that their position is weaker or unreasonable. In family systems, this may look like a parent complaining about one child to another. In professional or romantic contexts, it may involve bringing in a colleague, ex-partner, or mutual friend to validate the manipulator's side. By shifting the dynamic from direct dialogue to a contest of alliances, triangulation undermines the target's confidence and discourages them from challenging the manipulator. Silent treatment. The silent treatment is a tactic where the manipulator deliberately withdraws communication as a way to punish or pressure the target. Rather than resolving conflict through dialogue, they refuse to speak, respond, or acknowledge the other person. This calculated absence creates tension, leaving the target uncertain about what they did wrong and anxious to restore normal interaction. Its strength lies in the discomfort of unresolved silence. Most people are inclined to seek connection and explanation, so the target often apologizes or gives in just to break the quiet. Over time, this pattern teaches the target that disagreement or resistance results in emotional withdrawal, making them more likely to avoid conflict altogether. In this way, silence is transformed from a lack of response into an active form of control. Projection. Projection is a tactic in which the manipulator transfers their own unwanted traits, feelings, or behaviors onto the target. Instead of acknowledging jealousy, dishonesty, or aggression within themselves, they accuse the other person of those very qualities. This misdirection shields the manipulator from scrutiny while placing the target in the position of defending themselves against baseless accusations. The strategy works because accusations naturally invite reflection. When told they are selfish, controlling, or untrustworthy, many people pause to consider whether it might be true. This redirection distracts the target from noticing the manipulator's actual conduct and may even create self-doubt. Over time, projection not only deflects accountability, but also conditions the target to internalize false flaws, weakening their confidence and making them easier to influence. Smear campaigns. A smear campaign is a coordinated effort to discredit someone's reputation through deliberate spread of falsehoods, distortions, or exaggerated claims. The manipulator may use gossip, rumors, or selective framing of events to portray the target as untrustworthy or immoral. The damage is not confined to one-on-one interactions. It works by shaping how an entire group or community perceives the target. This tactic is effective because public image influences trust and support. Once suspicion has been planted, it often lingers even after the claims are disproven. Repeated exposure to negative portrayals builds an impression of guilt, making allies distance themselves and reducing the target's ability to defend against further manipulation. Smear campaigns therefore extend manipulation beyond private dynamics, weaponizing social perception as a form of control. Shifting the goalposts. Shifting the goalposts is a tactic where the manipulator alters expectations or requirements after the target has already met the original ones. The manipulator first establishes a clear condition for success, such as completing a task or providing evidence, but once it is fulfilled, they dismiss it and demand something additional. This prevents closure, keeping the target trapped in a cycle of trying to prove themselves without ever reaching acceptance. Its effectiveness comes from creating a moving standard. Because the target believes that resolution is possible if they just work harder, they continue investing effort and energy. Meanwhile, the manipulator avoids accountability, maintains control, and ensures the target always feels inadequate. Over time, this erodes confidence and reinforces the manipulator's authority, as the target becomes conditioned to chase an unattainable approval that continually shifts out of reach. Infantilization. Infantilization is a manipulation tactic where the manipulator treats the target as though they are incapable of handling responsibilities or making independent decisions, regardless of their actual competence. This can take the form of constant corrections, condescending language, or unnecessary micromanagement. The effect is to reduce the target's perceived status to that of a child, leaving them dependent on the manipulator for approval and direction. The power of infantilization lies in gradual erosion of confidence. When someone is repeatedly told how to act, what to choose, or that their judgment is inadequate, they may internalize the belief that they cannot function without guidance. Over time, this strips autonomy and fosters reliance on the manipulator, who positions themselves as the authority figure. The dynamic becomes self-reinforcing. The more the target accepts diminished independence, the easier it is for the manipulator to tighten control. Have you ever experienced any of these manipulations without realizing it? Tell us in the comments and join for more interesting videos.